I got a new quarterback and running back that I'm adding to my rankings. I'm going to talk about a freshman that I think could be taken in the first round of next year's supplemental drafts. That and the state of the running back position in college football and everything else I'm buying and selling from week 8 in college football right after the stinger. It's Felix Sharp at Sharp Review on Twitter for CampusToCan.com. If you like this video, actually, just go ahead and like this video right now. If you don't know what it is that we're doing at CampusToCan.com, we're playing college fantasy with these players, and we're following their entire journey. You got a college team and an NFL team, and when your college players declare for the NFL draft, they're added to your NFL fantasy team. So any of your favorite college players, it doesn't matter if they go to Bowling Green or JMU or Nevada or Georgia or Kentucky, whatever, we're playing college fantasy football with these players and really trying to establish a pipeline to our NFL teams. All right, let's get into everything I'm buying. And I know I haven't done one of these in a long time. Listen, whatever. Things have been going on. Everything that I'm buying and selling from week 8 in college football. Let's start with the buys. I'm buying Washington as the number 1 team in the country. Now, I know that you saw last night against an overmatched Arizona State team that this team really kind of just survived and advanced. However, I still think that they have an elite unit, and probably the most elite unit in the country in that offense. Now, I know Michigan has been blowing out teams. Georgia has been kind of, we don't know what they do exceptionally well. You thought that they would be a ground and pound team. It's really been relying on Carson Beck. But when I look at Washington, you got Michael Penix Jr., you got Jalen McMillan if he's healthy, you got Rome Odunze, you got Jalen Polk, who has had to step up in Jalen McMillan's absence. But even if they don't have Jalen McMillan, you got Jeremy Bernard, you got Giles Jackson there. It's not even to mention, some like Trayshawn Lyons, the freshman there. Kalen DeBoer has that team really firing on all cylinders. Last night excluded. But I think as the season goes on, we will be able to count on Michael Penix Jr. being protected, throwing the ball vertically to the back shoulder of Jalen Polk, of Rome Odunze, and when Jalen McMillan gets healthy, over the middle to Jalen McMillan from the slot. Talking about last night's game, this is a team that really shot itself in the foot over and over again. You get to the red zone, they have a tip pass interception. You got a fumble on the quarterback running back exchange. You get Jalen Polk fumbles to start the second half on a screenplay. I mean, they won the game, obviously, with the pick six there to end it. But this is a team that just was kind of, maybe after last week's emotional win, they just weren't there energy-wise or focus-wise to play, again, an Arizona State team that Kenny Dillingham is in year 1 of rebuilding that program. That's understandable. And in a year in college football that there's no dominant team, and we just saw Miami 2 weeks ago make a stupid mistake and not just take that, all right, let's get this win and get out of here. I'm not going to discredit Washington for the way they won that game yesterday. They won the game. Now let's see how they perform against, they still got to face Utah. They still got to face USC, a USC team that might be imploding just a little bit. I know that that's going to be a fun game later on, but I'm buying Washington as the number 1 team in the country, and I'm buying Michael Penix Jr. as being the Heisman Trophy winner. Again, despite last night's play, 1 interception on just I don't know what he was doing when he double clutched the ball and threw that ball in the first quarter on the interception. And then the tip pass in the red zone, it happens, all right? So buying Washington as the number 1 team. I'm also buying Devontez Walker as a first-round NFL draft pick. Now, obviously, he had the eligibility issues, and they had the loss to UVA yesterday, a 1-5 Tony Elliott coached UVA team you should not be losing to as the number 110 team in the country. But I think that loss kind of overshadows just how good Devontez Walker has been. He's a player that can line up inside, can line up outside. He's constantly, he had 11 receptions for 146 yards and 1 touchdown yesterday, but he had 2 passes where he got behind the defense where Drake May just missed him. This guy is consistently getting behind the defense, and I talk about his versatility. Obviously, last year they had Josh Downs, who profiled as a slot wide receiver. Devontez Walker profiles as an outside receiver, but the touchdown that he caught was he was lined up in the slot, and he was just running a really skinny post over the seam, had a defender draped draped on his shoulders, extended, and caught the ball. This guy he has a ton of versatility. Is he 6'3"? Is he 6'1", somewhere in there? I think, he's probably a similar size to someone like Brandon Ayuk. I think he's going to go to the NFL Combine and run a 4.3 somewhere in that range, and I would expect him to get drafted somewhere late on day one of the NFL draft. That's why he transferred from Kent State to play with the best quarterback or one of the best quarterbacks in the country, is so that he could elevate that draft profile. And through 2 weeks, he has. The last week against Miami, this week against UVA. Devontez Walker, you are proving yourself, and I'm so glad he got his eligibility. Now, we've had some misses with these G5 to Power 5 transfers. Off the top of my head, Kanata Mumfield at Pitt now, but transfers from Akron. Kind of thought that he would be a separator and be an elite route runner at Pitt. That hasn't really manifested itself. Jacob Cowan going from UTEP to Arizona, he's been fine, but I thought that if the NFL wanted him, he would have declared for the NFL draft last year. He didn't. So, we've had some mixed results there with these transfers, these G5. Look, Dante Cephas at Penn State. We've had some mixed results with these G5 to Power 5 transfers, but I think that Devontez Walker is going to be a hit. I think that he's going to get taken in the end of the first round, and at the very least, he will be taken on day 2. I would bet a lot of money right there that he would be taken on day 2. By the way, hats off to UVA. Hats off to UVA getting that. You're 1-5. Not a lot to play for. Going in there and getting the upset. Hats off to Tony Elliott. By the way, Drake May, a top 5 pick. Do I need to elaborate on that? I mean, I think that just is what it is. I tell you what I'm selling here. I am selling the state of the running back position in college football. Now, coming into this year, who did we have high expectations for? Quinshon Judkins, Travion Henderson, Nick Singleton, Raheem Sanders, who's been injured, Trey Benson down at Florida State, Donovan Edwards at Michigan. Hey, this versatile guy who can catch the ball, who dominated Ohio State. Could we see a breakout year here in year 2? Jamarian Miller throw Jamarian Miller and Jace McClellan out there. Especially we thought that Alabama would emphasize the running game. Those guys have been fine, but they have been nowhere close. Jace McClellan has been fine, but nowhere close to dominant. Quinshon Judkins had a great game yesterday, or a good game yesterday, but he hasn't had the same juice that he had last year, even splitting time with Zach Evans. So it's weird. It's weird. The state of the running back position is weird in college football. Even with Nick Singleton, we thought that he would kind of go gangbusters this year there at Penn State. And it hasn't really happened. So we are in a state of flux at the running back position. I tell you what's been good, Jonathan Brooks. Steve Sarkisian told us all offseason that he believed in this guy, even when he was injured there in the spring game and Cedric Baxter was taking the snaps there with the first team. He said that Jonathan Brooks was going to get his opportunity, and he's made the most of it. Now, has that launched him in the day 2 NFL draft conversation? I don't think so. If you have him, you are definitely starting him on the college side of your fantasy leagues, and I know you got him on the waiver wire probably in the 10th round, so you got some equity there. Be thankful for that. I don't know that he has entered the day 2 NFL draft conversation, and by the way, I think that we're not going to see a lot of running backs taken on day 1 and day 2 of the NFL draft. If anything, we'll see a lot of guys taken on day 3. Jonathan Brooks has been great. Audric Estime has been great. Amarian Hampton, the big fella, I think he was the player of the state of North Carolina, the player of the year for the state of North Carolina in 2021? Yeah, because 2022 would have been his first season, or 2022, whatever. He was the player of the year, that big boy. Mac Brown you had George Pettaway there, you had British Brooks there, and it wasn't clear, would Mac Brown give the majority of the carries to any one player? Now, my personal favorite was Amarian Hampton because I like players like this. I loved Ramondre Stevenson. I loved Mayan Williams, and Amarian Hampton exists on that spectrum. He's getting the carries. You got to start him every single week. And, we've seen Javonte Williams come out of this program. We've seen Michael Carter come out of this program. He's going to get the carries and, try to beat up these ACC defenses. in 2 years or next year, he could be in the day 2 conversation. That's really all you can hope for. So Amarian Hampton, he's up. That's a positive. Ashton Genty at Boise State has been tearing up college football. If you're not staying up to watch those games, I mean, you should, both through the air and on the ground. The veteran George Halani has been injured. I don't see how, even when he's healthy, when he come back, that he really gets the ball back from Ashton Genty. He's not only a college fantasy option now. I'm sure he's an RB1. I don't have those numbers in front of me. He's got to be an RB1. He is a player that we should start saying, oh, yeah, he's going to be an NFL draft pick coming out of Boise. Ashton Genty lighting it up. But no one, at least in the last 2 weeks, has been lighting it up like Ollie Gordon at Oklahoma State. In the win yesterday against West Virginia, 29 carries, 282 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Now, I have to give a hat tip to my colleague at CampusToCan.com, Austin Nace, who made several calls in last year's freshman running back class, who we collectively, specifically Austin, but collectively as a company that we were fading. We were fading Emmanuel Henderson. We were fading Raleek Brown. Austin was touting Ollie Gordon. We were touting Andrew Paul. We were touting, you know what? I can't even remember all the players. I'm just going to put the tweet, a copy of the tweet right here. So hats off to Austin. Ollie Gordon is playing exceptionally well. Speaking of the running back position, I can make a case for Caden Fegan at Illinois being a first-round pick in freshman and supplemental drafts next year. Now, if you are tuning into this channel for the first time, you don't know what that is, go ahead and click the link in the description box. Basically, every year you have a freshman draft, but any players who were not selected in the college football player pool the previous season, all of those guys are eligible to be taken. So Caden Fegan, his rostership rate is really, really low. I can see him being a first-round and end of the first-round pick right up there with guys like Dylan Royola, Micah Hudson. Take your favorite player in that draft in next year's freshman class. Caden Fegan could be right there. Brett Bielema, Wisconsin South. He's had success with a lot of these big-bodied running backs like Caden Fegan, like Melvin Gordon, Jonathan Brooks, Monte Ball. Brett Bielema has had success with these guys. Now, Caden Fegan, last season playing high school football in Illinois, he wasn't playing running back. He was playing the quarterback position. He was playing different offensive positions. He was playing, he wasn't playing a traditional running back position. So I had some questions about whether or not he was going to be able to play physically, because we knew he was a great size-adjusted athlete. You're talking about 6'3", 250 pounds now listed as a freshman, but I didn't see that physicality. I think that he has that. He has that physicality. That athleticism is showing up. Yesterday against Wisconsin in the loss, 24 carries for 97 yards, 1 touchdown. The previous game, 19 carries, 84 yards, and 1 touchdown, averaging over 4 per attempt in each game. Reggie Love has been out. He's been getting the majority of the carries. Brett Bielema is going to feed a number 1 running back. He likes big guys. Yeah, I mean, we just saw Chase Brown have an excellent season for Brett Bielema. Caden Fegan is going to have 2 more seasons after this to further develop that athleticism, to further, again, freakish size, and to further, develop these running back skills with a coach in Brett Bielema. If you had to put up, I think Mike Norvell would be up there. I think Brett Bielema would be up there. Who else would be up there as far as developing the running back position? Brett Bielema would be right up there. So he is in the perfect situation to have success. Caden Fegan, potential first-round pick, end of the first round. You can fight me if you want to. Fight me if you want to. Tell me why he's not in next year's class. Here's another thing I'm selling. And I gotta take this one on the chin. My early take on Luther Burden. Now, last year, a player who was used around the line of scrimmage in a very gimmicky way, screens, jet sweeps, et cetera, et cetera. We didn't see him deployed from the line of scrimmage. We're seeing that this year. Yesterday against South Carolina, 4 receptions, 90 yards, average 22.5 per. He's had a game with 17 yards per reception, a game with 14 yards per reception. He's not getting as many carries as he was last year. Still somewhat being used in the gimmicky way, being thrown those quick screens and then running after. But he's shown the ability to run downfield from the slot position, go up and grab the ball. That's all you can really hope for from an athletic player like this, who is some kind of mix between Percy Harvin, DJ Moore at Maryland, and Laviska Shenault. That's what he reminded me of, Laviska Shenault, the way he was deployed at Colorado in this kind of hybrid running back, wide receiver hybrid mold. Listen, Luther Burden has been balling. He's been balling. My early take on him and being concerned about him was wrong. I think I had him ranked anywhere like in the 20s at wide receiver early on. He's obviously now up in my top 5. I think I might have him at wide receiver 3 or something like that. Luther Burden playing his behind off. He's got 60 receptions for 898 yards on the season. Woo, man. And I don't have Luther Burden stashed anywhere. That sucks. My bad, y'all. My bad. I thought he was Laviska Shenault. And to be fair, I think that he exists on that spectrum, but so did Percy Harvin. Percy Harvin was somewhat of a gadget player, just in an elite athletic body. He also had wide receiver skills. But all of the things that Luther Burden does, those were the things that Percy Harvin does. So my bad early on. You shouldn't have listened to me on Luther Burden if you did, if you traded him, whatever. I'm sure you didn't, but you can let me know in the comments if you did. Go ahead, if you haven't already, go ahead and like this video before I get to my last couple of takes here. I am selling anyone at Michigan wearing the number 1 jersey. Sorry, Roman Wilson. I don't mean this as any offense to you, but for those who have been following me for any amount of time, you know I grew up in Kalamazoo, Michigan. I grew up with that 1998 Charles Woodson national championship team. I grew up wanting to wear that number 1 jersey. I remember, so the most prominent number 1 in my lifetime where I was watching college football was Braylon Edwards. Braylon Edwards, that 2004 Michigan State game where they were down 17 in the fourth quarter, and all right, we're just going to throw it up to I think he might have been 80 at that time. I don't even know if he had, no, in 2004 he had 80. In 2004 he had 80, or he had 1, he had the number 1. They just started throwing the ball up to him. 2002, the Penn State game, he was a sophomore. In that game, he was wearing number 80. And if I was at this game, shout out to Stan Edwards. Stan Edwards got us tickets to that game. The first overtime game in the Big House, I remember it ended, well after it was dark. Took over that game, 2 touchdowns in that one. There's you got to be a dude to wear the number 1 at wide receiver at Michigan. David Terrell, Anthony Carter. That number is reserved for dudes. And no disrespect to Roman Wilson, none at all. I don't know that he's a dude. Braylon Edwards had 1,000 yards receiving as a sophomore before he got that number 1, and I think it was his junior season in 2003. In 2003, before he got that number 1. It just feels disrespectful for me, for anybody right now. If there's not somebody who deserves the jersey, you just need to hang it up. But I just don't think anybody should be wearing that number 1 jersey. Maybe I'm get off my lawn type old. Maybe I sound like that way, but listen, I grew up wanting to wear that jersey. I don't think that anyone on Michigan deserves to wear it. And to be honest, it's they don't utilize the wide receivers that way at Michigan. So it's not really the players' fault. It's somewhat coaching in the system. They don't use it. All right. Some players that I am adding to my rankings. Pitt quarterback Christian Veilleux. I liked him at Penn State when he was, there backing up Sean Clifford. He was actually the backup over Drew Aller last year. He made some excellent throws yesterday against Wake Forest. I might make a separate video on that. And then Sione Vaki, the safety at Utah, who is now playing running back, has been added to the running back room in the last 3 weeks. He's got ideal size. I think he's 5'11", 208 or something like that. Catching the ball on third down, making players miss. He's got my attention if they're going to use him at the running back position. Utah has also had success with developing running backs. And again, I think that he is a true sophomore. So the fact that he could further develop, here's the other reason why, is he was an elite slot receiver. He was an elite slot receiver in high school, and they converted him to safety and now to running back. If he's got those wide receiver skills, I mean, that's what who am I thinking of here? Golden Tate was that way. Who's the guy? Come on now. Come to me. Raheem Sanders, high school wide receiver skill set, playing running back. Ideal size. And we saw him make some really good catches down the field in the game yesterday. I'm going to be looking at Sione Vaki And I'm adding him to my rankings. Is he in the top 100? No, but I'm still going to be adding him there when I can. All right, let me know what you are buying and selling from Week 8 in college football. And again, if you haven't already, check out campustocanton.com. And any thoughts on anything that I mentioned in the comments, let me know. Peace.